And hello and welcome to another edition of the Free to Fly online conference and fashion show. And on this Monday, we have a very special guest. It's Diana Elizabeth from the Rainbow Butterfly Cafe, and she is going to be speaking to us about overcoming adversity. Oh no, she's not just going to tell us about overcome adversity, she's going to show us with a portion of her one-act show. Uh, she's an actress. She's a I guess the word is a. Now I can't think of that word. You know how it is at the end of a Monday. Is somebody who really is passionate about what she does, and she's overcome a lot of adversity in her life, which she's going to tell us about. But we're going to switch on over to her, and for the first 20 minutes of this presentation, it's going to be all her with her one women show. Thank you so much for joining us, Diana.
Thank you.
Like this. And you are on. As soon as you're ready, you can begin.
Great. Well, good night. Okay. Cool. See you guys tomorrow. Well, good night. Oh, thank you. When did you say I needed to be off book again? Oh, just a minute. I need to write things down. Just a minute. Right. Okay. Oh, sorry. No, I can do it. No, really, it's okay. I can do it. Well, good night. I can do it. I like saying that. I can do it. Well, let me set the scene here. This will require some background, so if any time I seem like I'm long-winded or rambling too much, just nudge each other and tell yourselves, well, bless her heart, her head's up. See, the opening matinee had gone really well. You see, what had been a really bad summer for my friend Mary and myself, acting in this two-person show with the one shaft of light. We were really enjoying it. We worked our asses off. We had an abbreviated rehearsal time, but yet we still felt good about it. Luckily, the audience wasn't aware of any of this, where the playgoers were aware of the chaos going on backstage, such as the painting of the set beginning only at 11 a.m. that morning. I must admit, I was terrified that afternoon, but we got through it before an audience of 10, so onward and upward, right? As we prepared for the evening show, Mary and I kidded each other and joked around. I heard the pre-show music kick in, and I did my usual ritual, a quick and el nombre de Padre del Hijo and el Espíritu Santo. And I told myself, in a couple of hours, this will all be over. I can have a drink and relax. Except I had this strange feeling this night was gonna never end. In a couple of hours, this will all be over. I can have a drink and relax. The opening act went really well, and Mary and I, we were cooking for a while anyway. I now know that it happened somewhere around the end of Act 1, but I didn't feel the effects until after intermission. The it I'm referring to, well, I like to call it the time my head blew up. Not overly snappy, but it beats I spent 4 years in Mexico and all I got was a lousy brain hemorrhage. So we come out of intermission and my head is really, really hurting. But they kept on going, pushing me and they confused me through the scene. My voice sounded flat and mechanical, but I wasn't in control of what I was saying, and I couldn't stop. Finally, I heard the director yelling, not unusual for that asshole, but it was because it was during the show, and he said, the show is canceled. What? And they took my cell phone with the emergency number, then called the ambulance. And I couldn't feel my left hand. My time at the hospital is remembered it all as flashes, snapshots, jagged shards of recollection. They all add up, I suppose. For example, as grateful as I was to the emergency room staff, why do they ask the question that they're not going to listen? My favorite, the emergency room drill. Do you think you might be pregnant? None of this miracle happened. And then they would talk in feathered whispers. Is she pregnant? She might be pregnant. We need to know if she's pregnant. Hello? Did you see a bright star and 3 wide men coming in here? Then there was a CT scan. I told them I was claustrophobic. I told them. Yet they seemed really angry when they had to pull me out and sedate me. And let me tell you, sedated does not mean oblivious or unconscious or deaf. I heard their cheery little conversation about needing to notify my next of kin. Look, just because someone is on the verge of becoming a human can of VH use, or snappy Tom as I prefer, does not mean they are not there. They are. I was really out of it. Really out of it for nearly a week. But a few things stand out in extreme technicolor, such as the Exorcist, who came to read me my last rites, dressed all in black. He zoomed toward them, for dramatic effect, I assume, and loomed over me and said, would you like to confess your mortal sins? And what it was like, what was next? A pop quiz? A PowerPoint presentation? Other thoughts that rise to the top of the murky soup of that time period were a week into this picnic, I realized the show had stage makeup on my face. That SpongeBob SquarePants, infinitely more enjoyable on morphine. Then, day in and day out, I was cold. And that as much as the whole thing seemed like an elaborate joke, it was unlikely to be so based on logistics alone. It would have been impossible to plan for the intracranial bleeds, the care flights, the projectile vomiting. My brother appeared at my side to read for me from Harry Potter. I mean, no one is that organized. No one. If anyone comes to you saying the word blended diet, get the hell out of there. My introduction to this was a tall glass of warm beef puree, as if this improved beef only over any other configuration. Other delicacies from the devil's cuisine art included liquid salad, blended lettuce with a piquant ranch dressing, and the lasting indignity of having to say, may I please have another piece of sip of cake. The less said about my demoralizing assisted showers, the better. In memory terms, it was like a cross between a 1950s hydrotherapy and the holding up of the animals and the bear enclosure in the circus. I was not a fan of rehabilitation therapy at first. And the best of times I did not suffer fools gladly. Besides, there were still times I wondered if I had entered into an episode of Punk'd. My first therapist came to me, her arms laden with paperwork, and I said, I really don't think I'm up for administrative work right now. That's what I wanted to say. You see, the left side of my face was paralyzed and my speech was difficult and uncharacteristically terse. Think Clint Eastwood with lockjaw. My next therapist came to me and asked me to identify the 5 things that were wrong with this picture. I said, I can't. She said, why not? I said, because there are 6. She was not amused. Yeah, this is the same young woman that one day appeared over her clipboard and said, are your parents still Hispanic? I got a lot more enjoyment out of my conversations with my neurologist, Dr. Sitter, bless his heart. One day he asked me to explain the significance of Hamlet's soliloquy, and since I had written my master's thesis on it and it was much easier for me to talk, I was happy to oblige, and we had a wonderful conversation. Around this time, I began to hear many of the hospital personnel refer to me as high functioning. Well, no joke, I lunged out. I have 2 master's degrees, and I'm still not deaf. But I kept my mouth shut. Soon I deduced, high functioning, remember, that much of their talk was covered up for saying, isn't there another hospital that wants to take a crack at this vile, overeducated bitch? So at my parting, I contacted Worthworks, Dr. Robert Nieto, a neurologist friend and playwright as it so happened. And soon I found myself being packaged and airlifted back to Texas. Back to my family, closer to my family, and closer to a doctor who knew me and knew my temperament and maybe could answer some of the questions that I had answers to the millions of questions I had been asked. But first, I had to answer a whole bunch of other questions from a bunch of staff, nurses, medical personnel, blah, blah, blah. Had I died and gone to hell? The Warm Beat Parade gave credence to that, but I soon deduced that was impossible due to the lack of animatronic children singing, "It's a small world after all." Post-trauma brain therapy only sounds like a self-important rock group. It's actually an avenue of treatment designed to check that's the person's functioning level. Maybe return them to pre-trauma levels. Since I was considered high functioning, I was told that my course of treatment would be assessment. Lots of assessment. Assessment means testing, and I was no stranger to testing. In fact, I loved it in my pre-trauma days. But now the stakes seem much higher, and I had an incredible sense of myself as a failure. My self-esteem was further undermined by lots of people telling me what to do all the time. I worried if I missed a day somehow. What? It's Thursday? What happened to Wednesday? I'd grow hysterical if I didn't know what time it was. I hated being alone ever, and a misplaced pencil could bring me to tears. And let me tell you, Nobody's self-esteem is allowed to soar as long as they are required an escort to go to the bathroom. Once you seem ready for outpatient therapy, outpatient status, everything frees up and there's no room for frivolity. Every night when my night nurse would ask me if I needed anything else, I would say, yes, a vodka martini with olives. Tolerance with his branch soon grown thin, when all the other patients in the brain trauma ward started to ask for cocktails too. On one occasion, my therapist insisted that we play catch, and I'm afraid it looked like a rather mean-spirited game of dodgeball. Finally, I was declared an outpatient. Now, at least you understand the magnitude of this situation. Being an outpatient is rather like being on parole. The tether is short, the circumstances are limited, and you still have a lot of people telling you what to do. But still, I was able to live in the home of a friend of a patient, able to have my own bathroom, a shower chair, and a wheelchair that I only used it a few times. It was only then I realized how determined I was to recover and recover fully. Now, getting better didn't mean jumping through hoops just to please somebody or doing something that someone else wanted me to. Now I was playing for keeps, playing for me. And that made all the difference. Outpatient therapy now offers its own brand of hilarity. There was sorting the ring nuts and screws that reminded me of a tech theater class I had years ago. There was a computer game, The Tower of Hanoi. Chilly, huh? This game required that I stack a bunch of monkeys on top of each other until the top creature could reach the apple on the tree. Now this bothered me for two reasons. One, is Hanoi really known for its plentiful orchards? And two, it really bothered me that the bottom creature never got anything to eat. Personally, I would never let a bunch of people stand on top of my head if there was nothing in it for me. But I remained quiet and kept my mouth shut. I did not remain quiet, however, when it came to me taking the test that would determine if I could ever drive again. For this, they placed a grid on the wall, and I had to press a button every time I saw the light come on in one of the squares. But they figured out that they were trying to pre-guess where the light might come up, kind of test the test. So they switched me to another one and remind me that my future as a driver was dependent on the outcome. For this, I had to press the space bar every time I saw a giant E come onto the computer screen. I reminded them that I've been driving for years, and never once had I seen an E coming into incoming traffic. They were not amused. On one occasion, we were supposed to go on an outing, and being in theater and having a theater background, an outing had a very specific meaning to me. Who was going to be outed? Another patient? This seemed unnecessarily cruel. Again, I paid the price for thinking too much. An outing simply meant a bunch of patients going to the grocery store to buy the items for next week's occupational therapy class. I like to look back on this time and think I was stoic, if not downright triumphant, a testament to the human spirit. In other words, possessing those qualities deserving of a movie on Lifetime. But one day, after a particular rigorous evaluative test, I lost it. You see, I was supposed to arrange these blocks in a certain pattern, and I could see the pattern in my head, but I couldn't make my hands do the work, and so I lost it. I started crying all of them stupid blocks, and the therapist, she was great. She said, did anyone ever tell you what happened to you? And of course, no one had. They told me I would be alright after telling me I would live through it. They told me not to mind someone taking me to the shower or feeding me liquid pie. They told me there was no substitute for hard work, that I need to work harder, that they needed to ask me one more question, that there was no room for sarcasm in the therapeutic process. They told me I was doing great, that I needed to do a little more work. They said that I was really good and knew that I needed to accept my limitations. They said to take one more test, just one more time, to give it one more shot. But no one ever told me what went on inside my head when my head blew up. Well, this therapist, with the soft voice and the soft hands, did. She showed me a picture of a brain and showed me where a 3 centimeter bleed was. A 3 centimeter bleed was. And I realized that maybe I should stop crying and realize how lucky I was to be walking and talking and to have enough sense of myself to realize what my stumbling blocks were. That is the distance I had traveled thus far. A sense of perspective is a wonderful thing, to see yourself and where you are in the world. You see, I mastered those blocks and countless other things afterward, and my family and friends who accompanied me to countless therapy sessions and games of boggling Connect 4. I'm really lucky. Wow. My last assessment test says I won't be taking the ACT anytime soon, or driving. But I'm okay with that. I've even grown philosophical about the way I left that audience that night. It must have been weird for them, but I let myself off the hook for that too. Because you see, as strange and weird as that night might have been, it really wasn't the strangest thing I've ever been a part of. That would be a musical.
We don't have a huge audience to clap for you, but that was
That's okay. That's okay.
awesome.
Let me grab a little water here.
Sure. And that was Diana Elizabeth, and that was her presentation, her one woman show. And obviously that is a very personal performance for you. Is all of the story within the show? Is that all from your personal experience?
No, it's very interesting. Maybe my it's really interesting. That show, Linda Rodriguez is the playwright, and when I found the show a few years ago, I was thinking about writing a show that dealt with my personal story. I was born with cerebral palsy. And I was looking for, I also teach acting. I was actually looking for something for some of my students on my monologue, and I came across this, and I was like, oh my gosh, I mean, I read it. And so what I say is, it's not my personal story, but it so relates to everything I felt about being dismissed and feeling like people don't hear me, and some of the things. This is a playwright true story, but it so closely parallels my story of how I felt, and I so relate to everything that even though it may not be my personal story, I have such a deep personal connection to it. And it's interesting because this character acquired a disability. I was born with my disability, but what I like about it is when I title it, I call it a journey of self-discovery and self-acceptance. So I see it as when the character goes through this, how I am, is who she becomes. And of a person who now has a disability, but she goes through this journey of anger and bitterness to, hey, I'm okay. I don't do the, I have these things that I deal with now, but I'm really okay, and I'm really okay with who I am. And I think that's when I talk about adversity is just going through that process. We all go through it. We all face adversity, whether it's a big scale or small scale. We go through this constant kind of dealing with our setbacks and how do we do this. And so I just thought it was a great way to tell a story that hopefully moves audiences and then share my story afterward. But it's really about facing adversity and then coming through to the other side and being okay and stronger. And like I say, it's a journey of self-acceptance. And I call this journey the journey of self-acceptance. This is who I am now, and that's okay.
And that's an awesome, awesome message for everybody, because there is so much that is out there that is a challenge or an obstacle, and we get through it no matter, and we can either accept the way that we are, or we can fight it, as your character is fighting so much in the beginning. Definitely has a sense of humor. I loved the humor in that piece, and the way that it relates so to those feelings. Because my mother, she had a mental disability, and I remember seeing her and the way that the nurses and the doctors would treat her as if she was stupid, and it wasn't. Was stupid. She was just not able to communicate in the same way that other people. So I remember those feelings of seeing, and so I really related to that part.
Thank you.
Well, listen to me.
Well, and I felt that too, because my disability is a physical disability, but I've often been treated like I have an intellectual disability. I'm being taught to as if I don't. I mean, I actually remember, for several years, I had the opportunity to do a co-star role on 7th Heaven back in the day. And so when I went to the audition, they were auditioning actors with disabilities, and they were auditioning me and several of my students. And the producer came in, and after I read, she said, "Do you still live at home with mom and dad?" And I said, "Oh no, I live with my roommate in Venice, and I moved there after I got my master's degree." and let me say that the producers up in Heather went on to, she hired another student for another show. So it was really great. I mean, she's really wonderful. It was just that moment of, oh, this is, I have a master's degree. people, I have an MFA in acting. So sometimes people will talk to me as if I don't know what's going on. And so I understand, I relate to that, and I've had that my whole life because I have cerebral palsy, which was caused at birth. I didn't breathe on my own for 45 minutes when I was born. The doctors worked on me. So I've grown up with dealing with people's misperceptions of me, and I've had that my entire life. And I have a great life, so let me put that out there. I have a fabulous, wonderful, wonderful life, and I'm very lucky and I feel very grateful. But I've also dealt with people's hear this voice, so they see how I walk. I've been mistaken for drunk before on the phone because of how my voice sounds. So I've also dealt with people's misperceptions of me. And I think I try and take all that and say, well, how can I infuse that into roles I play? How can I tap into that? With this show, so that's why I think the show was so perfect, because it dealt with, in a very different way, everything that I have dealt with. I understand what it's like to be misperceived. And I'm sure a lot of people do, but I relate to that. And I still go through it from time to time where people will make an assumption about me. And I think we deal with people's assumptions, and how that can impact us. And that's a story I remember. I was, my friend Kimberly and I, we have our girl night every Friday. So we were on the elevator coming down in the parking garage, and this man walked in with balloons and like presents. And so I think I said something like, "Oh, you're somebody gonna be very lucky." And he said, "Yeah, my daughter." And I said, "How old is your daughter?" And he said 8, and then, "Oh, I think my nephew's 9." It was something like that. And then he said to Kimberly, "Do you work with people with disabilities?" And Kimberly was like, "No." And he's like, "Well, you should try it. That's what I do." And so Kimberly was like looking at him like, "What?" And when he got up the elevator, I go, "He thought you were my aide." And we love him. So we went out to dinner, and like the whole day we were joking. I was like, "Is it okay if I eat my food?" And we were joking, but it truly was him making that assumption that, here we are, two women together, and Kimberly had no idea what it was, but I did, because that's the world I live in. But yeah, he just made an assumption based on, seeing these two people, when in actuality they're just two friends hanging out. But I'm used to that. I get that from time to time. So.
And there's a lot that you get from time to time. You have an 8-step program for dealing with adversity.
I do.
What you've been through. So we know that this is something that you thought about and put a lot of work into. So if you can share with us a little bit about that.
I'm going to get my nifty. Okay. So I just like to say, my company called the Rainbow Butterfly Cafe, artistic treats to nourish your mind, heart, and soul. And I kind of base it on most cafes you get food to nourish your body. At my cafe, you get food to nourish your mind, heart, and soul. So I love to I have little toy cupcakes here. But I just love the idea of play. So this is my little cafe that I set up. So I made little slides with sweet treats on there. So this is I may need to speak because it might be hard, but 8 actions to take when coping with or conquering adversity. This is the treat here. And the reason I say coping and conquering, I think there are certain things in life that we cope with, we may not get over. I would say, for example, the death of a loved one. You may move on, but you may never truly get over it when you lose a loved one. I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety in 2004. I'm definitely proactive in how I manage it, but I don't know if I've conquered it. I just cope with it, and I take proactive steps. So I wanted to say coping with and conquering, acknowledging that some things you do get over, some things I beat that, and other things in life we learn to cope with on a regular basis, but we may never get over it. Did that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. And it's beautiful that you have acknowledged that there are some things that we cope with, we don't get over. I mean, for example, with you, your cerebral palsy, it's not going to go away.
No, it's not.
Live with it. It's going to be cured or conquered. It's coping. So that's important to realize, especially, as we go through things. Some things you do get over, and some things you need tools.
Right.
To.
Right. And I want to emphasize to anyone who might be listening, these are tools I share in a peer counseling. I'm not a licensed therapist. So these are tools I'm sharing that I use, actions I'm sharing. But please, anyone listening, please don't mistake this for medical or psychological advice, because that's not it. I want to share what I do in hopes that if someone out there is dealing with adversity, they may take some of these ideas and apply them to their life. So we have our 8 actions. So our first one, our screen comes here, is acceptance. That's the first action, because I think you need to get to a point where you accept, hey, I'm dealing with this. And accept that it may be hard and it may really, really suck. But just saying, the last stage of the last 5 stages of death is acceptance, where you go through anger and bargaining, but then you get to the point where you say, hey, I accept I'm going through a rough time. I mean, I'll be honest, last week I got dealt a the election here in the United States did not turn out the way I hoped it would. So I've been having to accept that. And it has not been easy. And this is no disrespect to anyone who may be happy with the outcome. I'm just saying, from my personal point of view, I was very upset by the outcome. Now, am I learning to accept and deal with it? Yes, because that is, I accept that I live in a country where the person I wanted to win was not selected. So I've had to accept that and accept what that could mean for me, for my LGBTI friends. But it's coming to terms with I can't live in denial of that. Does that make sense? I can't say, oh, maybe this will happen. I had to accept that this is going to be my new normal, my new reality. So that's what I mean by this accepting. Whether, I was diagnosed with depression. That means there are days when and it's chronic. I take really good care of myself. I'm really proactive. But I have to accept it may never go away. That the anxiety issues may never go away. So I have to cope and say, but I still have to live in reality that this is a part of my life. Depression and anxiety are a part of my life, and take steps. But I can't deny that. So I think at first we have to accept whatever we're going through. And
there is a saying out there that we can't treat what we don't diagnose.
Exactly. And actually when I had depression and anxiety was the gift, because now I understood, because I'm like, oh, this is why I react this way. This is why I get really nervous and I question and I obsess because of this. And it really was very freeing in a way for me. So they gave me an answer. And oh, so now when this is happening, that's what that is. Does that make sense? So
It makes complete sense. Knowing what you're dealing with makes it so much easier to deal with. When you know what it is, then it's not something strange.
exactly. So we have a session. Then I have surround yourself with a support team of people who LUV you. And I listen, LUV is listen, understand, and validate. Because people that love us, LUV may not always give us LUV. You know, the people that listen, understand, and validate are the people that get it. Are the people that when you say, I really want to be alone right now, they leave you alone and they don't insist on coming over. And I think it's really important to, and I always say the people that love us very much may not always give us LUV because family, you know, they may or may not, but LUV, if they listen, they understand, and they validate whatever that is. And say, okay, you need space, I'm going to give you space. And that's giving you validation. Others, you know, I know when I was first going through depression, a couple of people were like, well, don't take medicine, don't do this. And they go, oh, you're happy, you're feeling better now. And sometimes I felt very invalidated to what I was going through. So people invalidated, I get it, I understand. You need space right now. I'm here, you know, and that we can also give that to people when people want us to be on their support team. You know, listen, understand, validate, whatever that is. Posting something on Facebook if you need support. You know, calling a few friends, saying, hey, I'm going through this. But that's build your support team. You know who those people are, your inner circle, but surround yourself with people who listen, understand, and validate where you're at, whatever you're going through. And it's really important, treat, I love my little treat thing, is to express and be open about what your needs are. Because again, if I come over to your house and bring food and I'm just, and you don't want, if I don't know that you don't want me there, if I'm coming over every day just to check on you, and you may not want that, if you don't tell me that, I may be well intentioned, but sometimes you have to say, hey, this is what I need. I need space right now. I'm going through a tough time, and I get, you know, I have a really, really good friend, and sometimes when he's not feeling as well, he tells me, send me an email and just write it in what you want in the subject line. Because he gets a lot of emails from work, and when he's feeling no energy, if I just write it in the subject line, that's how we know, or sometimes we do business together, we go, write it's business related. And that way he knows that, you know, because sometimes if he has a million business emails to read, reading another personal one may be an energy thing. So we've worked it out that when he needs more rest time, I'll just go, love you, thinking of you, and that's it. So really, but I do that because he told me that's what he needed. So I think it's really important to have a support team. Then tell a support team what we need. Facebook can be great for that. Hey, I need some prayers right now. Send an email. I need some prayers right now. You can have a prayer team or a meditation team. You can have the people that come over. Your support team can be many different types of teams. Some people do post things on Facebook when they need extra support. Some people are more private, but you be open about what you need. So your support team can give you that, because we may not read minds. So
Exactly. We can't read minds for other people. And what you might need might be different from what they need in the exact same situation.
exactly.
Some people want to be left alone, some people want to be cuddled, right?
Right, exactly, and I think a lot of us, those of us who are the caregiver type of people, go, "Oh, let me come over and bake you cookies," because we are caregivers, and I think those of us who are real caregivers have this real need to want to take care of people from a very loving and well-intentioned place, but it may not be what that person needs at that time. And we really need to tune in as what they need. And again, you need to say what you need. If you don't want people coming over, you need to say in that way, you know what, I really need space right now. And if you say it to someone on your support team who's giving you OUV, who's listening, understanding, and validating, that person will listen. You know, if they're truly on your support team, and I'm not talking that, obviously if you think someone's gonna hurt themselves or something, that's a very different situation.
That's a difference, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, someone calls up and says, "Hey, I think I'm gonna, God forbid, blow my brains out." I would not say, "You say okay," and hang up. But for the most part, you need to listen to what people say, and it may be hard if you're a caretaker, because I think, again, when we're caretakers, that's what we do. We caretake. We take care of people. We love that. That makes us feel good. That's part of our heart, to take care of people. But we also, if we're truly taking care of people, the caretakers, we need to understand when people want a space, and then we take care a different way, with our love, with our meditation, with our warm thoughts. We don't have to be one-on-one. Sometimes we have to take care from a distance. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does.
So my next one for adversity is develop a practice of gratitude. And the reason,
So important.
and I wanna differentiate gratitude from happiness. If the gratitude, one of my favorite coaches, Ken Bennett, talks about creative chaos, where two things that are equally true. And I'm gonna use a loss for now. You may be devastated at the loss of a loved one, yet you're really grateful that that person was a part of your life. And I see that a lot on Facebook. So I'm at a stage where a lot of my friends are losing parents now. I've had, almost every year or every few months, I would see someone post that they lost a parent, maybe a sibling, or it would be the anniversary of a death. And I think it's that developing that attitude of gratitude. And I know I used last Tuesday as a perfect example. When I called my friend things when I had that realization, and I was upset, and we talked, and I called a couple of friends, and then my friend Kimberly came back, and she said, "I just talked to my mom, and she reminded me of what we have to be grateful for." And I thought, you know what? I always have things I can be grateful for, even when, my nephews, my sister, my brother-in-law, my parents. The fact that I live in a building that I rent an apartment for my parents. So I always try and think, what can I be grateful for today? Because there are things you can focus on the negative, and there are. I can say, well, when my beloved Uncle David passed away last year, and we all got to go up there for after Thanksgiving to be with him, and my cousins were there. It was hard to see him ill, and because I knew that was the last time I was gonna see him. I knew that. But yet there was this grace of being there and to be there for my cousins, it was their father, and to see him and to hold his hand, and for him he said, you thank you for all the emails you sent to check on me. So as sad as it was and as hard as it was to see my uncle that ill and to know that, I remember I walked in the room and he reached out and took my hand. And I will never forget that. And that was really beautiful. So in the midst of the sadness, I was very grateful.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think if you can every day just think, I'm grateful for my husband who's lovingly taking care of me right now when I'm really sick. I'm grateful for my kids who make me smile. I'm grateful for whatever. I think that can really help to develop either journal, just saying it out loud. I think to develop a regular practice of gratitude can really help with adversity. I'm going to make it go away. These are tools that can help get you through. And that's what I'm suggesting. Then I have, remember you're resilient. I want to quickly there. And it's because, you know what? Chances are, if you're going through adversity, this is not the first time. And it won't be the last. So I can look back when I'm going through that time and go, wow, in 2004, and I'll be honest that, before my depression was diagnosed, I remember there was a place I used to sit on this bench, and I used to, bus bench. I used to watch the traffic, and all I wanted to do was walk into the street. And I'd be crying because that's what I wanted to do, because I felt that low. It's like, I don't have anything to offer, and that's how I felt. So I'm not there anymore. I'm here. So when I go through depression again, I say, you know what, Diana, you didn't walk into the street. You bounce back, you come back, you bounce back. And I do, because I think, hey, when I get depressed now, I have two little nothings I want to see grow up. So I let myself, and everyone out there who might be, you've been through adversity before, and you've gotten through it. So you will, and I'm not saying it's easy, sometimes it's really, really hard. Sometimes you just need to go back to back because it's really hard. These are not magic fixes. These are just action and tools, I think, that can help you cope or conquer adversity. And everyone here is resilient. I know this is about a lot of you supporters for women who've been in a domestic violence situation. How resilient is that? To make the choice, women who have been in domestic violence situations are incredibly resilient people. Incredibly. A woman who made the choice to leave, whatever choice is, whatever you're choosing to leave, whatever choice you make, it's an incredibly resilient woman who they can't leave and they stick it, they stay incredibly resilient. These women, I think the women who go through domestic violence situations are incredibly resilient women. No matter what decisions and choices they make, they are incredibly resilient women. I have not been in the domestic violence situation. I was verbally abused by a boss, so I know abuse from that way. But I don't know physical domestic violence has not been my experience. But what I do know is this: anyone out there who's watching this may be a woman who is a survivor of domestic violence. You are resilient. And don't you ever forget that. So,
And that is a great message. So remember that you are resilient.
remember. And this is my favorite. Express yourself through art. And I say that because art is so healing, and there's so many ways you can do that. There are now adult coloring books, which can relieve your stress. Making a playlist of music that makes you feel good, getting up and moving and dancing, reading a book, watching a movie that makes you laugh. And I bring up Kimberly again because we went and we saw Trolls on Saturday, the movie Trolls. And why did we do that? Because we really wanted to laugh. Because we both were on the same page. And she just said, let's go to a movie Saturday. And we didn't want to see a deep, thought-provoking movie. Right? We want to see loving, but we didn't want to see it. We didn't want to see it done. And we will, because I do. I mean, I'm an actor. I love seeing wonderfully dramatic movies, but last week I didn't want to see anything that had to make me think. I just wanted to watch Trolls. It was fun. It made me laugh. So art, it can be going to a museum, but art, finding ways to express yourself through art, coloring. And I want to say, it's not about being a good artist. Okay, it's just about creating art, writing a story, writing a fantasy story where you're the princess and you write a fantasy story. It's all about things that make you feel good. One of my mentor coaches, Samantha Bennett, sometimes I hear her say, create some 5-minute art around that. Create a song. It can be a silly song like, this sucks right now, this sucks right now, I really, really hate it, this sucks right now. And whatever that is, just to art is so much healing. There's so much healing and just an opportunity to self-express. And I'm, next year I'll be offering workshops using theater as the therapeutic process of theater. I teach acting now, but I'm also, as my company develops, will be offering workshops that use theater for personal growth. So just whatever that art is, a playlist, reading poetry, just take time to express yourself through art. And I think that can be another healer. You can just scribble one day because you're really bad. Scream. If you're in a scream, I'm gonna say do that in the library, but they're going, ah! As long as you're in a safe place to do that, why not? Just get that out. So I have 2 more. This is commit to holistic daily self-care. And that means caring for yourself physically and mentally, eating a healthy diet, getting your rest, working out, taking a walk, things that are helping you physically and mentally. To commit self-care is so important, and I'll admit that's what I'm still working on, the self-care. But especially when you're going through a tough time, taking care of yourself, and that might mean going back to bed some days. I think with daily self-care, I say, especially during the tough days, sometimes you just have to take it an hour at a time. And some days then you go, okay, I can get till noon, I'll be okay. Because when I go through my bouts of depression, sometimes I do that, I go, okay, I'm going to get till noon. Okay, I'll get till 4. I'll get till 8. Sometimes with death, when you've gone through a tragically horrible loss, sometimes you just have to do the hour at a time.
And sometimes we've found, even minute by minute, sometimes it's just
exactly.
that moment. And I know that that's one thing that we've been talking about a lot on the Free Fly Conference is that self-care and that taking it moment by moment when you have to.
I mean, and the thing is, you take it minute by minute by minute, and then you've gone. If you take it minute by minute 60 times, you've gone an hour. If you did it 60 more minutes, you do it minute by minute for 60 more times, 120 times, you've done 2 hours. And then I'm not really good at math, so again, some days it's like I have to take it minute by minute today. That's all I can do. And self-care sometimes has to be saying no. I can't do that now. No, I'm overstressed. Sometimes it's saying no. The self-care is remembering what your boundaries are. I'm saying, look, you know what? I just went through this. I don't have it right now. And if you tell that to people who give you LUV, they're going to get that. They're going to get, okay, you don't have it right now. And truly, if someone's listening, understanding, and validating, they're going to say, okay. And sometimes if you're the only one and you can't do it, then it may not get done. Sometimes that has to happen. Sometimes if you're seeking to say, I don't have the energy right now. I just went through this, and that's okay. That's self-care. And it's not always easy to do that, especially those of us who give and give and give. But sometimes you have to. You need to make yourself a priority. And I get it, a lot of you, I know that you may have kids and things like that, but I just want to say this to you. My sister she's a health and wellness coach and holistic health and wellness coach. I think that's her title. And she's a mom, 2 little boys, my adorable nephews, but my sister does a lot of self-care because if she goes down, who's going to take care of the boys? Yes, she's married, but again, you need to putting yourself first. I don't think it's selfish, I think it's selfless, but if you have to give to other people, because if you go down, you can't do what you need to do anyway.
Absolutely. And we have talked a lot over the course of this conference about the oxygen mask effect. You have to put your oxygen mask on first before you can save other people. Because if you don't get the oxygen to help anybody after that,
you're going to pass out. So yeah, exactly. And then my final one, the donuts, is maintain your faith. And faith, I like to be used in many ways. Faith is trusting in theory, even though you don't see it. Faith may be if you have a spiritual practice. My spiritual practice is progressive Christianity. So I do pray. I do read the Bible. I do. That's a word for me. I have faith that, even though I can't see it, everything's gonna be okay. And I don't mean that in a Pollyanna way. I just mean I have to have faith. I can't, And so I think and faith is just trusting in your heart that things will be okay, and trusting that if things don't work out the way you hope. Because we do go through loss. I remember a few years ago, I was helping support my friend whose nephew was very sick, and, I was sending prayers over the little boy, and I just believed this little boy was going to get better. And unfortunately he didn't. And I remember getting that email when my friend told me that this little boy passed. He was 7. It was devastating, but sometimes that faith, that sometimes it's trusting that even when it doesn't work out the way you hoped it would, you're still gonna be okay somehow. And faith is sometimes resting I don't have the answer right now. I don't know. Again, that's the day-to-day, moment-to-moment, minute-to-minute. I don't know how I'm going to get through tomorrow, but I have faith I will. I don't know how I'm going to get to the next hour because it hurts so much right now. So cry. I'm a big thing about crying. If you need to cry, cry. Don't hold it in. I don't know how I'm going to get through tonight. But you find out, even though you don't know how you're going to get through tonight, somehow you get through tonight. And that's what faith is. I mean, like I said, I'm having to do that a lot right now because what I feel is situations in the United States right now that kind of scare me a little bit. And again, I'm saying this in no disrespect to people who feel differently, and please hear that. I'm talking about my personal feelings, and I really want to insist because I know not everyone feels the same way, and please know I'm sharing your personal of what I need to do, and this is no disrespect to anyone else who may feel differently. And please hear that because we have diverse opinions. But for me, Diana, either the children, for me, I'm having to rely on a lot of faith right now because.
And I do believe that a lot of people are feeling that way right now, and they are relying on faith and all 8 of the tools, really, that you've shared with us tonight. That reaching out, we are reaching out and talking to the people that we love, and having that level of acceptance and having that level of, okay, I can get through this. I mean, for a lot of people, they're saying we just have to get through these 4 years. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm Canadian. So I can kind of ignore that I could be ignorant of the issues that are going on, but I do believe it's important to point out that it can be anything that is causing upset in your life. And whatever it is, there are ways to cope and to conquer it, because it's not about everything in this life, as we've learned through this last 5 weeks of this conference, is that everything is about our response to it. Life.
Exactly. It really is. It's not about you. I always say that life it's happened when you are busy making other plans, and so is adversity. And so, because no one plans for adversity, no one goes, "Hey, adversity, come in, get me right now, because I'm ready for you." But it's how once it happens, what choices when you get that health diagnosis, which can be devastating. What do you do? How do you deal with it? How do you choose to go forward and and choosing, and again, this is not simple. It's like, and I think there's creative chaos. You can say, I'm going to be grateful, and it really sucks. And they can both be really valid. I think you can have 2 really valid feelings that are polar opposite. And they're both, Sam called it creative chaos. It's true, because very few things are black and white, and very few things are linear. So, one of the things I'm really excited is I want to teach this also to businesses, because it's like, especially when you run your own business and you're a creative entrepreneur, solo entrepreneur, what happens when that client that you counted on doesn't pay you $5,000 that you were counting on, right? What happens when that contract falls through? No, we need tools to cope, and This is something that I feel when I was thinking, well, what do I do? These are the things I have done. So maybe I can share them. Like through my company. So I to create workshops, my show and workshops. You kind of get a combination of the two where where we talk about it because we need to talk about adversity too. We need to. It happens. You can't be in denial of it. It happens. So let's talk about it. Let's deal with it. Let's admit that it's hard and it can be really, really sucky. And then let's see how it can suck and be really hard and we can still get through it somehow. And sometimes it may take a couple of days. Sometimes it might take 5 or 6 years. It depends on what it is. But, even if it takes you 5, 6 years, depending on when it is, there'll be a day when you look back and you go, this is the journey I've traveled thus far.
Absolutely. And that is so beautiful because it is a journey and it is a learning experience. And I just have to thank you so much for joining us and sharing today.
Oh, my pleasure.
And now, our viewers, you can find Diana Elizabeth at the Rainbow Butterfly Cafe.
Yeah, and that is rainbowbutterflycafe.com. Rainbowbutterflycafe.com.
Rainbowbutterflycafe.com. And so check her out and see some of the workshops that she's doing. Check out when her next one-woman show is coming up, and definitely connect with her for these ideas, especially the creative ideas, because she is so right. Creativity and creating art can be such a healing part of the process, and you don't have to be an artist or to be awesome at it in order for it to work, to heal you through that power, whether it's music or dance or painting or even playing with Play-Doh. If you're really angry, that one's a really fun one.
If you notice, my office is just full of toys because I come home and it's fun. These things are fun. Self-care. Get a Barbie doll. Play Barbie every once in a while. We don't play anymore. Have fun. That can be a great thing of self-care to come home and do something you love to do as a kid. And do it for 5 or 10 minutes. I'm not saying go into your office and play Barbie all day because your boss may not like it. Unless you're your own boss, then you can go ahead.
Well, I have a job, and you know what I have in my office? I have a puppet that I made. I have a puppet. I use her in some videos. We call her Princess Violet, and she has a little. Anyways, but yes, we do make fun. Make a lot of the play because play isn't important. It's something that we tend to give up. As I was just talking with my little sister yesterday about trampolines and why children jump on the bed and what we get out of that. When was the last time you jumped on the bed and had that?
Exactly. Thank you so much for having me, Patricia. I'd love to come back anytime.
Well, thank you so much, and we'll definitely be keeping in touch with you as the year goes on. We wrap up the Free to Fly online conference and fashion show next Friday, so you'll want to stay tuned because that's when you'll find out what our brand new name is. So thank you so much for joining us. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Bye.